And honestly, if I was doing a 60 kilo clean, 30 kilos felt heavy. Yeah, my wrist was sore, my back was painful. It was the worst session I've ever done.
And I got better results when I pulled working sets back and just thought, we'll do the basic in the gym, let the diet do the work.
You're trying to get fat loss, but you're trying to run a fucking marathon PB.
Yes.
Is this why you're injured?
Right? You want a real 6 to 10. You don't want a half-ass 6 to 10. So doing that challenge set and someone gets 25, you know that weight's got to go up considerably the next time.
If a female believes she can do a chin-up, she's already 90% there. Isn't it mad how complex this stuff actually is?
So Steve, it's been a couple of weeks. It's been an entertaining couple of weeks for you. You've had family down. You've had Darren over. For anyone who's in the fitness industry will probably know Darren Cartel. How has your last couple of weeks been?
Yeah, it's been good fun having people come over and family over. It's been nice. It's been exciting. It's been good.
So did you get your content ripped apart by Darren?
Just a little bit, bro. Yeah. And more energy, better cutting and editing skills, and just less talking and better information. So it was helpful. You know what I'm saying? It was helpful. It was good. It was good.
To be fair, that is the unlocking of the key, right? I remember this on the first episode of the podcast you did, right? And you were like nervous with it, unsure, and then they've just gotten better and better and better on everyone you've done, right? Like you've got in person. If I went out for a beer with you, you've got a crazy good personality, and you're one of the smartest people I know. But it's just portraying and having the confidence to put the personality across, and it's exciting over the last few months to see you come through your content. It's getting better and better by the week.
You know what's mad, yeah? Like, it must be just a block. Like, when I'm talking to the camera or people, I'm trying to be too professional, use these big words, and I just complicate things, innit? It's obviously just like what a lot of people do, innit? But it's just fucking dumb. Because when I think about it, why not make myself look more, like, explain information more simple? Because I know that I understand it to a deeper level, and if I ever get called on it, then I can do that. You know what I mean? So why not keep it more simple, innit? You know what I mean?
One of the things that I've always considered doing recently with my content, more and more, and I was having a conversation with a mate of mine today about this, is unfollowing a lot of people in the fitness industry, purely for the times we get bogged down on what other people are doing. If you're sitting there following people like, I don't know, Kasim, Jordan Shallow, all these people are marketing to coaches, you almost get stuck on what your content should be. Is your content, or is it influenced by others? And that's where these big words come in. Whereas if you unfollowed all of them, you just make content that's good for the people you speak to, and that's your clients. Yeah, I agree. And in turn, I bet with your clients, you don't say big words, right? I bet it's only when you get onto Instagram.
Just when I want to bamboozle them, innit? Like,
yeah, but it's deliberate.
I always take the piss, because when I tell them to do their upper back mobility, I'm like, yeah, flexion, extension, rotation. And then they come in and they'll be like, fucking, what are you talking about? You know what I mean?
So before we go into our topic of this week, you mentioned to me off air about sending out an email to your email list, which we'll plug at the end of the show, about 5 things you learned this week. And I thought these were all really interesting things. So tell us a little bit about what made you send the email, and tell us what these 5 things were.
Well, you know, email marketing is so important, isn't it? And I don't do it. I've never done it. The only time I ever sent anyone an email was when COVID happened, and I was like, oh, come and buy a program. You know what I mean? We know email marketing works. You know what I mean? If any coaches out there, it works. You know what I mean? Use it to your advantage. The way the boys explain it to me, Darren and James, is basically like, your social media is your social media, but emailing someone is like taking them home. You know what I mean? Like, and really getting the details going. You know what I mean? I thought, let me email everyone. I emailed all my clients, all my old clients, everyone. You know what I mean? People that have subscribed to my website. I've not even looked at that email list that's built up over years. There's not many on there, but it's still built up to 60 odd. I sent them an email on every Friday now. Today was the first one, Friday. 5 things from the week. And I said, listen, if you want to unsubscribe. Otherwise, you can just use it. Hopefully it will cheer you up, or you can just use it while you're on your way to work just to have a read. You know what I mean? You might take something from it, you might not. But my 5 things were, the first one was, so it's all from my previous 7 days, my last 7 days. So the first one was to surround yourself with positive people. And it was basically like, I didn't go into detail. I just said, this is so powerful. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, I've had a friend over who's got good energy, family come over, good energy. It's just a nice vibe. You know what I mean? Like, as they say in it, surround yourself with positive people, law of attraction, all that bollocks. Yeah, it works. It works.
Well, we were saying this at the start, right? With Dylan coming over for you, it's like one of your blocks has been social media. You said it yourself, right? And you got a person that's somewhat mastered this and has got the energy. It's like that's what you needed to break through. Whereas if you surround yourself with people that don't care about this, you're not going to care about this, and it's going to rub off on you. And the same thing in everything in life. If you want to get better at something, if I want to get better at my like Olympic lifting, I go to an Olympic lifting gym. If I want to get better at dating, I go to a club. You know, like you put yourself in those environments, I think makes a huge, be the small fish.
Yeah, definitely. Number 2 was, what was number 2? Number 2 was like, basically, it's okay to take time off training as long as you maintain 3 healthy habits, which are nutrition, hydration, and sleep. Like, and basically the last 7 days, actually the last 10, 14 days, I haven't trained. I took 2 weeks off training just because I had people over and all that shit. And I probably messed around in the gym, didn't do anything properly. And I wasn't drinking enough water. I was drinking too much beer, watching football all night, you know what I mean? The World Cup. So not sleeping properly. And then I tried to train. And honestly, if I was doing a 60 kilo clean, 30 kilos felt heavy. Yeah. My wrist was sore. My back was painful. It was the worst session I've ever done. So I thought, if you can maintain those 3 habits whilst you're not training, if you're going to be on holiday or whatever, or take time off, I think they're really important. And there was a lesson from me that I learned, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The third one was to, if you're tired and fatigued, use the ocean or exposure to cold water to your advantage. Like on Monday, I was really tired. Like I said, like fatigued, just felt like sitting in front of the TV, having a beer. And then my mother-in-law, she wanted to go to the beach at sunset for a swim. So I was like, oh, fuck, I don't really want to do it, but I will. So I went with her, jumped in the ocean. And when I got out, I felt invigorated. I felt alive, and I had the best night's sleep I've ever had. So the power of like just water and the ocean, maybe the sunset, the ocean, the light, simple, but so good for the soul. And then that was the third thing, right? Yeah. The fourth thing was just about videoing yourself. Like this week, I've basically started a new program with a new coach, and I've been videoing my lifts, my weightlifting techniques, and I'm seeing things that I didn't realize that were there. So power of videoing yourself from a beginner level all the way to what I would think myself being advanced level is so important. You get feedback, use it to your advantage. You know what I mean? So basically anyone there, video yourself and watch yourself back training. And then
that's your content as well, right? Going into what I know what your fifth thing is. So that your content, that's your content, all your squat videos, everything else. You put a green screen on, you're good.
Exactly. The fifth thing was 100-day challenge. Now, I don't like this sort of shit, bruv. You know what I mean? But 100 days of trying to do something every day. Yeah. The same thing. And I decided, oh, I'm going to make a post every single day on social media for 100 days. And I was only 8 or 9 days in, but I was on a roll and I felt like I had a win and I had confidence and I was momentum was going. So I've done like 9-10 days now, which over 100 days is fuck all. But the momentum that I've created is in my mindset. It's just like, I'm going to actually achieve this 100 days now because I've done 8 or 9 or 10 days already that I'd never done before. So basically what I said on the email is whether that's walking every day for 100 days or yoga every day for 100 days or hit your protein target every day for 100 days or stretch your hamstrings if they're fucking tight every day, whatever, who cares? Try it, do it, but tell someone about it as well to keep yourself accountable, which is why I sent the email and I'm telling you, innit? Fucking hell, I better do it now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have all our listeners doing the same thing. But I think there's a real power of a deadline. And I think people don't utilize it enough because a lot of times when people fail on diets, it's partly because they feel it's like this endless thing. But having a goal of like, okay, this is when I'm going to diet to, and this is when I'm going to bring food up, it makes today valuable. This is why people who have photo shoots or physique competitions or whatever it is get better results because of the same sort of thing. And you can start going like, okay, I need to do these things today because I don't want to miss the day.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I think, like setting goals, but like actually having the deadline to it is important. You know what I mean? And then telling people about it to keep you accountable is a nice bit of stress, you know what I mean, to achieve it.
It's a little bit of urgency, right?
Yeah. Urgency, yeah.
So going into our topic of the day, you mentioned, you just said now you consider going from beginner to what you would consider yourself advanced. So you're someone that knows training. You've hit training plateaus and you've broken through it. So I thought it'd be interesting today to talk about the top 3 reasons why your training, not you specifically, but a universal you, training sucks. Why do people get stuck with training? So do you want to start with what is your first one?
You know what? I thought about this earlier when you asked me, and I think I've got 3 good ones that everyone, I think certainly Jen and Pop will learn from, and then us as coaches will think, you know what? I think that's definitely 3 good ones. So my first one is basically people just aren't lifting heavy enough. They're just not strong enough at low repetitions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So why the low repetitions thing? Why that over just not lifting heavy enough? Why did you add that caveat?
I think when it comes, let's take fat loss for the example. Yeah, if people are doing fat loss, obviously nutrition governs that to occur. But I also think people can get way better results if they actually spent more time prior to this, fat loss phase, getting really strong, all right, and lifting heavy weights. And I think I'll explain it like, when you told me those challenge sets, and then I started implementing with my clients. For anyone that doesn't know that, you take one set, you do as many reps as you can. And I was having girls who could bench press 40 kilos, for 5, but they could still do like 35, 37 kilos and still get like 15 reps out. Well, that just doesn't make sense from a percentage perspective. So the problem is when people aren't strong enough, if you give them 85% of the 1 rep max, which they may only do like 5-6 reps, if they're weak, they could get 15-20 reps with it. So they're just not strong enough to maximize their training goal, whether that's building muscle or fat loss or whatever, you know what I mean? So if that makes sense, if that's a good explanation, that's what I think.
Yeah, and I also think like we get bogged down a little bit into what is the optimal and the ideal. And there's a theme to a degree in a couple of mine with that, but I'll come on to it in a second. But that functional hypertrophy, 6 to 9 reps, 10 to 12 to 15 reps is what we consider hypertrophy, right? So people go, right, my client wants to have a goal of hypertrophy. I want to gain muscle and build hypertrophy. So you spend all this time in this sort of 6 to 12 repetition range. Now, while I think that is a good thing to do, you want to spend most of your time in the range that's specific to the goal that you want to achieve. Most of the reason why people don't get the hypertrophy gains that they want is that they hit a wall where they're not strong enough to do it. And I think spending a bit of time on those lower repetition ranges and getting strong means when you come back to a hypertrophy range, you are now holding more weight on the bar. If I can hold more weight for 3, I can now also hold more weight for 6. So I'm getting more out of less work, so I can recover easier, I can train harder, and I can get more out of it. And I think people don't think about that enough. They think too small frame. Strength isn't the goal. Well, yes, but take 1 step back, take 3 forward. And if strength is the goal, then of course you need to spend more time at lower rep ranges.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally agree. Like, I think that's a massive one. Like, and for some people whose goals are fat loss or building muscle, I'm standing on dumbbells. Strength isn't that strength. Getting strong isn't that sexy because they want fat loss or they want to build muscle. You know what I mean? But I suppose a good coach will teach them the advantage of being as strong as possible before you go into that sort of training phase, isn't it?
How do you approach this with you? Because you train some girls and get them really strong, right? And I've had experience with that too. How do you encourage your girls to get strong? Because a lot of girls are worried about getting strong because they think they're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't know. Like, there's just different people, isn't it? Like, I always stress the importance of like performance. You know what I mean? Like, is like always like get them away from their goals of just fat loss or building muscle or whatever. Like, let's think about your performance, your energy. How do you feel? Your confidence, things like that. And like when their energy is good and their confidence is good, like they will get a chin up. Or they will lift that 60 kilo weight. Because obviously psychologically it's bloody flies, man. I must smell. There's obviously a big psychological component to lifting heavy weights, in it. You've got to be psychologically ready. You've got to be able to strain if you're going to go like more maximal. So it's not just lifting the weights, right? It's a big psychological component. So if you can make someone more happy, more confident, enjoy their training more, then that will take them far. And then the next step is to, just make them strong, innit? You know what I mean?
Well, and I certainly think,
if a female believes she can do a chin up, she's already 90% there, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That sort of kind of segues quite nicely onto my first one, which is very similar. But it's just the one that everyone's expecting someone to say is people just don't train hard enough. And this, when I went to say, when I saw Tom Hibbert in the summer and he said, what's the best methodology for hypertrophy? He went, whatever's going to make the client train hard enough is the one. So if they like strength, make them do strength till it's hard. If they like 6, 12, 25 and pump work, we do that till it's hard. If someone likes something in the middle, great. And I think, when the problem now with I don't want to say the evidence-based crowd, but the reps in reserve crowd, which I'm not against the idea of leaving a rep or two in the tank, but now it's being interpreted by the people that preach it initially are the people that generally should. But the people 3 levels down from that who think, oh, well, I should always leave 2 reps in reserve, don't even know what 1 rep in reserve is. And we know getting close within 1 to 5 reps in reserve is what you need to be, no matter what your goal is in terms of hypertrophy anyway. So people just go, okay, I think that's 1 in the tank. And they have no idea. And this is where the challenge set comes in as well.
Yeah, I think the challenge set is what I've used that in the last couple of months a lot, that challenge set that you first spoke about. And my clients are way more stronger, way more confident. Even though the challenge set may be 15, 20, 30, 50 reps, depending on what they're doing, those high reps still help them get strong. You know what I mean? Because again, it's the confidence component to it as well. You know what I mean?
And it guides your next week. So if you're doing a set of 8 to 10, and going back to your point of people not lifting heavy enough, right? You want a real 6 to 10. You don't want to half-ass 6 to 10. So doing that challenge set and someone gets 25, that weight's got to go up considerably the next time. Yeah. And eventually, you're now going to get your client to a point where they know what 1 rep in reserve is, a true 1 rep in reserve is. They know what a weight for 6 is. So they start getting stronger and they start training hard enough. And that just becomes a new habit because you don't let that slide from the off.
I think it's good to point, if you give someone what I've noticed is if you give someone a challenge set, and then they smash out a crazy number of reps. So you're like, fuck, man, they should obviously be lifting for their 6 to 8, yeah? If they're doing this weight for this many reps, yeah? This is what we're saying, yeah? But sometimes when you give it to them, they can't do it, right? Because they can't strain, they can't brace. There's no ability to strain and push. So then that could guide a coach's program to work on those skills and things in other areas, you know what I mean? Whether that's more isometric holds or overloading techniques with ISO chin up or whatever, you know what I mean? I think that can help guide your training program as well, you know what I mean?
And you can also gear those isometrics to things that they are limited in. So I could go with where they have technical failure on a press, and I could train an isometric to failure on a something that's going to work the scap retractors, like an active dead hang or an isometric trap 3 or something like that. So you can train the stuff that's limiting the first lift in the isometric of the second lift and still teach him that mentality to train hard. And the two can go hand in hand if you program it that way.
Yeah.
So what's your number 2? What's your second one?
My second one was what was your first one? Your first one was
not training hard enough.
My second one is too much beast mode training.
Ooh, okay. This is interesting because this is almost the other side of it, and people are going to think it's going to be the opposite. But tell me what you mean by too much beast mode training.
Well, people train with too much work and don't recover enough. Too much high intensity training. Too many sessions. They put all their effort and energy into training units and they don't get enough recovery units, and do look many Tabatas and all these crazy things that you see on the internet and insanity workouts. And some people lift heavy too much and some people do too much volume and all this shit or don't recover enough. And then they just end up burning out. I see it a lot in my practice when people come to see me. I'm always starting them with fuck all. You know what I mean? But like I said in one of my posts, the quality of work's important. It will take care of the volume for beginners, I think. You know, if the quality of work is good, it will take care of the volume for beginners. You know what I mean? So, like Luke Leaman terms, beast mode, least mode, depending on like, you know, blood pressure, resting heart rate variability, these sort of things. I find a lot of people coming in to see me who have worked with trainers, who have worked training at gyms. They've been going hard for too long, or they've just been going too hard. And what they need to do is, you know, read a book and have a fucking glass of wine in the bath and have some bubble bath or something. You know what I mean? Just chill and relax, you know?
Do you know it's a hard sell, though? Because the people who have been victim of that are the people that are the most resistant to be told to chill out, right?
Ashtanga yoga. Anyone that does fucking air-dyne sprints and fucking good training, they don't like doing yoga and they don't like doing breathing and taking walks along the ocean looking at the sun. Like, they don't like doing that, you know what I mean? There's A's and B personalities, you know what I mean? But, you know, the reality is if you're an A personality, you do need a little bit of that B as well, right? So
yeah, you know, I mean, that's something for me. Like you know, we've spoken in the past about some of my issues are going on. A lot of that is, you know, high sort of sympathetic drive and neural tone. And I focus a lot on the last few months of trying to bring that down. So a lot of my training has now gone into things like a lot of breath work, a lot of things bringing the rib cage down, a lot of improving function. And it calms that nervous system down. And I've also cut my caffeine down to one tiny espresso in the morning and then decaf. And I didn't realize how much anxiety and stress I had until I actually brought this down, because I was always go, go, go. So it's my normal. And now all of a sudden this week, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm a little bit more chilled. I'm a little bit more relaxed. I'm starting to unwind. And I'm now looking at other things of like, right, I've got this point to the end of the year now where I'm going away. My training's probably going to be up and down. Let's use this time to back off a little bit at the end of the year, do some things like float tanks, do some things like yoga, do some things that are going to chill me out so I can come into 2023 in a position where I can go beast mode again and not sort of be in this beast moding when I'm out of the gym and beast moding whilst I'm in the gym at the same time and just spinning my wheels. And I do think a lot of personal trainers are incredibly guilty of always going to failure, always going hard, always trying to do more. And actually, there's a beauty in doing less, especially when work becomes the priority. I think trainers are good at it when work's quiet, but when work becomes the priority and it's now can't be their physique, they don't know how to scale back.
I think this is where a percentage-based program works very well, because you know, most of the times, percentage-based programs, say if it runs for 6 weeks, like I'm doing one right now that lasts for 6 weeks. Like, put your numbers in, and it will start with low percentages, like 40, 50, 60% of your 1 rep max. But you may not be doing 12 reps. I'm doing like 3 reps, right? So it's the session rate of the perceived rate of exertion for my session is like 3, 4 out of 10. But I'm learning a new skill. So it's hard. It's skill-based. I'm learning a new skill. And at the end of the workout, I tag on some hypertrophy and a little bit harder work. But overall, the session's piss easy. And every week, it's just going to get a little bit harder and a little bit harder. So I think that's where percentage-based programs and stuff can work well for people that do too much beast mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, it. Like, you know, I've got clients that have trained with other trainers, and like, you know, it's almost like they're, you know, one saddle, 2 horses, or whatever that analogy is. You're trying to get fat loss, but you're trying to run a fucking marathon PB.
Yes.
Is this why you're injured? Is this why you have is this why you are very snappy and you get stressed and you're not sleeping? Probably, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so let's forget about fat loss and let's just work on your running and manage your fatigue. So one of my clients, she's not allowed to deadlift, not allowed to squat, not allowed to do anything because she has a tendon tear up in that gluteal fold somewhere. So for her, it's like training is just like almost boring. You know what I mean? Like she loves training hard, but it's educating the person. Like, you know, look at the numbers now when you're running. You're running the best you've ever ran. You had a 9-minute PB in the marathon. 9 minutes.
That's crazy.
Like, accept it that this is where you're at. And some people, I don't know what it is, man. They're just, Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm talking about here. I'm just going on a waffle about one of my clients. Yeah.
But I think that's interesting when you talk about the percentage-based things. But I think that is how you sell it to them, right? It's like what I was saying earlier on about the hard sell of someone trying to get strong, or people feeling like they're needing a deadline, they're needing a goal, like they're on an endless diet, so they kind of give up. Now, this is the beast mode equivalent of that, right? You say, if I'm beast moding it all the time, you say, Simon, you've just got to chill the fuck out, man. You got to do a little bit less work. You got to not train as hard. I'm going to go, fuck you, Steve. But if you went, sorry, look, X, Y, and Z is the reason why you're not progressing, because you're just putting too much into this. What we're going to do now, we've got a 6-week block, and this is where you are now. And yes, I know this is less, but look at where the plan's going to be. And in my head, it's different because I can see that I'm getting back to these big numbers with an improvement in 6 weeks. It's not I'm just stepping my foot off the gas. And when do I don't know when I put it back on. Do I never put it back on? If I know that, look, this is where it fits in the bigger picture, I think that is the way you can approach doing that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why when many years ago, Phil Lerney reckons that you don't need to periodize fat loss, I just think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Of course it needs to be periodized.
I also think periodization is also as much of a psychological thing than a performance thing. I'm going to give two arguments. One in your side of things of why periodization from an actual periodization was good, but psychologically, people need to feel like they're going somewhere, and periodizing fat loss or periodizing any goal allows someone to see the bigger picture, which keeps them engaged, which means they're training harder in terms of they're building muscle. That's good. Secondly, it makes coaches' jobs easier. If I pick a linear periodization model, I know where the reps are going to be. I know what the sets are. I know what the rests are. Program design becomes easier. And from a fat loss perspective, your periodization might be slightly different. I generally think of periodization, you're doing the opposite of most periodization plans in fat loss. You're looking to peak to get stronger. But if you've got someone that's the calories are coming down, you're almost peaking. Your peaking area of the program is pulling volume away and going, cool, you're now on, 8 calories per pound of body weight. You are now grinding. So I need to make sure that you can recover. So we're going to do less work. We're going to do 1 working set per exercise. And if you don't do that, I have seen it, and I've done it myself and with clients in the past, where you've ran them into the ground by just increasing volume. The food's coming down. You haven't got a chance to recover. And I got better results when I pulled working sets back and just thought, we'll do the basic in the gym, let the diet do the work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, like I would categorize that into like too much beast mode, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, you know how many people come in to see us and they've been eating fuck all food for years and training with high volume, hard work for years. They're running themselves into the ground.
So going on to my second one. Yeah. My second one is it's kind of a double-edged sword of two, but I put focusing too much or too little on your mechanics. And this is inspired by a video Eugene Teo put up recently where he said he did an interview with Mike Isotel. He said he took 100 kilos off his squat. He got weaker, went from 200 kilo squat to like an 80 kilo squat. Why? Because he watched a video and he saw how his foot wasn't arched properly. And he focused ages on making sure he had the perfect foot mechanics, the perfect upright squat. And then for ages, he was just like, guaranteed that I need that upright squat. I need it to be perfect. And then one day he was like, why? Why does it need to be perfectly upright? I was like, but it doesn't. There's no reason why this is the case. And I think we have people that focus too little on the mechanics and just throw weight around and bounce. And when they get stuck, they've out-momentumed it. They can't momentum anymore. So they need to scale right back and go, let's learn to control this. Let's learn to work for my structure. Let's learn to optimize this. But then you get the other people, and I fell into both sides of this camp, where you focus so much on your mechanics that you don't actually get any stronger because you're looking for it to be perfect under heavy load. And I did that for so long that caused me greater issues. So now I've got so many layers of compensation that I'm almost taking time off from training entirely to sort out some of this compensation. And if I hadn't focused too much on my mechanics and things being optimal and perfect 5 years ago, I don't think I'd be in the hole I am now. So there's a middle ground here. Make sure you're not doing anything stupid. Make sure you've got control and look to work on getting better, but do not forget to train hard and to the greatest range of motion you can own.
Isn't it mad how complex this stuff actually is?
I know, right?
Yeah, it's mad. Like, to think that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, but tell you what, it's interesting in terms of the journey of self-exploration I've done through this.
Yeah.
Because Reg, you said this to me. I don't know if it was off air or on air. It was like you were like saying, I can't believe after the years we've known each other, you've still got some of these issues. And I was like, sometimes I'm like, I can't either. Like, why? Why am I still so stuck? And some of it is like general. I'm like, that is my structure. Like, I got this tested. I'm never going to get into a barbell back squat. Right. So, but a safety bar, I'm fine. But some of the hip stuff, I've got range if I take a wider stance. I'm just not strong in the range. So I was like, why is that the case? Why am I so still rubbish at stuff? And it's like, I've had these moments recently, like when I first got diagnosed with ADHD, I started to see all the things in my childhood, the reason why I've had this for longer than I think, right? Like losing shit and all that sort of stuff. And what I realized whilst doing some of this breathing stuff over the last few weeks with one of Conor Harris's programs is that I've realized, and reading James Nestor's book on breath, how bad my breathing mechanics been my whole life. I had asthma as a child. One of the things that people who mouth breathe a lot have bad dental. I've had more dental issues than probably anyone listening to this show. And so I was starting to realize that. And then one of the drills is like a forward flex with a reach. So you breathe, you expand like your posterior expansion of the rib cage and not into your belly to try and encourage that and have a forceful exhale.
Posterior rib cage expansion.
Yeah, so I'm here, and as I breathe, I'm almost pushing out my back. And then as I breathe out, I'm looking to bring in my obliques and to bring the rib cage down because I have a very flared rib cage. So I need to bring my rib cage down and my pelvis back to alignment. So I'm doing stuff at the moment to bring the rib cage down, taking off the TFL, get the glutes working, and this sort of stuff. And the modification to this drill was use a balloon, so you can have that more forceful exhale. And I just couldn't do it. And I had a flashback to when I was a kid, and I was the only kid I knew in my class who could not blow up a balloon. And to this day, I still can't. And I was like, it's one of those things where, yes, it means I still got work to do. But what was really humbling about it is that I had for a while going, I know all this stuff. Am I completely wrong about everything? Because it clearly doesn't work for me. No matter how many clients I've helped. And part of that, I realized is like, I have had layers of compensation with this since I was about 5 years old, probably. And it's only now that I'm trying to get under these layers. I'm like, oh shit, this shit goes deep.
Yeah, it's mad. Like I actually did a lot of that breathing stuff with a coach a year or two ago. And I did it for about 8-10 weeks and I didn't feel any improvement. I felt like it didn't help me.
You move well though, right? You've always moved well.
Yeah, but I'm stiff in certain areas, you know?
Yeah.
Very extension dominant, you know?
By the way, I am going to clip "I'm stiff in certain areas" as the thumbnail for this episode. But yeah. So for people who don't understand what that means, talk me through an extension dominant. What do you mean by this?
So I'm just, like, I'll show you on camera. I'm just spend so many years weightlifting. I'm really, from benching and squatting.
Me too.
And deadlift.
Me too.
I'm really extension dominant, so I need to, work on all that breathing mechanics, right, and opening up the posterior rib cage and all that stuff. But I just found that stuff, I felt like it didn't benefit me. Maybe I didn't do it properly or long enough,
I'll send you some stuff when we go off air. That's helping me because I'm like you but worse. 10 times like you but 10 times worse.
So my third one is calorie intake is incorrect.
Okay, go into that. Delve deeper.
So when people are stagnating, whether that's fat loss or building muscle or performance goals, a lot of times the calories are way off, innit? You know what I mean? They ain't eating any carbs, or the calories are way too low, or many times they're just eating too much, or
This is my third one. Living in a deficit or low carb. I watched a video from Alan Kress.
His calorie intake is incorrect, and yours is the calorie deficit for too long. Yeah, like same. Like yeah.
I watched a video with Alan Kress. I went for a video with Alan Kress recently, and he said you should spend at least a 1-to-1 ratio. For the length of time you're in a deficit, you should spend at least the same amount of time in a surplus or at least at maintenance. Nice. And he recommends a 2-to-1 ratio, really. And I'm like, that is so true. And people get stuck because the guys, I think guys are worse at this, actually. they're so worried about losing their abs when they get them. They want to build muscle, but they don't want to lose any abdominal definition whatsoever. I'm like, well, good luck. I will shout out Kevin Hall, one of my old mentees, has put on a crazy amount of muscle. If you follow Kevin, he's before and after from 2019 to now. And the only way he's managed to do this is he's embraced being a little bit fluffy. He's trained very, very hard, and he's got himself each diet. He looks considerably different from the previous. He's played the long game, and it's incredible. And so many people I just don't want to do this, and they live at the very least at maintenance, and that's the best they're going to get.
Yeah, I think like, especially for beginners, I think, well, maybe not just for beginners. I think if people can eat as close to maintenance as possible for the majority of the year, they can get a nice body recomp if they put their training and their recovery in place with good structure. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the first diet you do should be lower on the calorie front, because you're going to make mistakes in your tracking. You're going to overeat without realizing it. You're not going to train hard enough to utilize the food. But I think that's the only diet where your calories should be crazy low. When someone goes into their second diet, I would nearly always encourage somebody to eat as close to maintenance as possible for as long as humanly possible. Keep the calories as high as we can. And actually, this is where I would use training volume and quite increase training volume as long as I can before pulling calories away. But someone has earned that over diet one and going into a good building phase.
I think that's really good tip that you just said about, like, your first diet could be low, and then after that push up as high to maintenance as possible. But what about if you get someone coming in, right? Okay, I come in to see you. I've trained for 10 years. Yeah, middle-aged female, kids, stressed, don't have to work, whatever. And I've been with a trainer at a gym, and we've done 6-week fat loss challenges every year. And I've just abused my body in calorie deficits and lost a ton of weight in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, but also put all that weight back on. So I've just been all over the place. So I have done extreme diets and low calories in the past. How would you deal with me? Would you put me on a first diet of low calories or what?
Unlikely. I mean, it obviously very much depends. This person could be in the psyche of the thing that's going to make them confident and get momentum and be able to get that first win is going into a diet phase and getting in a place where they're comfortable again and then building up and doing it that way. But if they've been mentally affected by doing this endless yo-yo diet style, I'd probably stick them. If they knew their calories, I'd probably find out what they're on and then make a small drop from there. Or I'd go 12 calories per pound, so slightly more, like what I would give my intermediate people who have no idea what they're eating. And then keep that as high as possible and learn to nourish their body whilst they train for a while. So the focus is a little bit just not on what is my waistline and what's the number on the scale, what's on the bar. And then we drip feed them down from that. But it depends on what's going to kickstart them and get them motivated again, because that approach may be too slow and they might zone out, which a lot of people do that, right? And then the client, they don't want to put someone on an aggressive deficit. The client goes, well, this isn't working, and you can't help a client who quits on you.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. So I think
human psychology.
Third you say is important. Calorie intake has to be correct. And when it's incorrect, that's when people can stagnate. Yeah.
And low carb, and the amount of people now, especially as carnivore dieting, maybe not as many people do the carnivore diet when they realize the Liver King is on so much gear. But low carb keto carnivore dieting, mate, 15 grand's worth of gear, right? 15 grand.
Is that what it was?
I had a really interesting conversation with Rob about it. Huh?
Mad. That's mad.
Yeah.
That's mad.
I had a conversation with Rob about it. And it was a little bit in defense of him, because I do think people have been people are so excited to throw him under the bus, right? People are so excited to kind of the person that's complaining about the Liver King the most is also probably the person that's complaining about the small personal trainer being too small. I'm like, well, you're creating people that want to jump on gear and then jumping on them when they fall. And we are as bad at this. But the problem with Liver King is you trying to sell his stuff, right? But I think maybe the popularity of carnivore diets will go down. And I'm not anti-carnivore diet. For people with big autoimmune conditions, there's a time and a place. But I generally feel if you want to build muscle and you're trying to do it on a lower carb diet, you're an idiot. And I've had clients do this. They've gotten lean on a lower carb diet, and I'm trying to increase the carbohydrates, and they're fighting me tooth and nail. I'm like, well, you're not going to gain muscle, right? You said you want to have bigger arms. Good luck.
It's funny, isn't it? Like people's experience and how they think. You know what I mean? So again, like it's like, you know, the typical female that has yo-yo dieted her whole life and lost loads of weight and put it back on, and you know, thinks that 800 calories are what she needs, you know, because of her experience of doing it, you know, over time, you know, when in fact she's just wrecked her.
The hardest thing sometimes working with clients is that Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Like the people who know the most about a topic are probably the people that doubt themselves the most. The people that know a little bit think they're right. And this is what happens when clients get a little bit of knowledge. I know that I went lower carb and I lost weight. So that means lower carbs must be the answer. And it's harder to convince that person to have carbohydrates than it is to convince a person with 30 years experience that they might be wrong about something.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it, how people think, you know what I mean? It's like...
There's a great video on this. I might put it in the show notes of Mark Manson talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect and why people believe the way they do. But I think that's a good short and sharp episode of like some of the things, the pitfalls that people kind of get in shape and why training sucks.
Yeah, I think that was good. I think
so. For people who want to get on your email list and find your 5 things, or come and listen to your 100 days worth of content that you're going to be putting up on Instagram, where can people find you?
StephenCollinsTraining.com, Stephen Collins Training socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I've been putting shorts up.
I saw this. They're good.
You reckon? I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, they came up on my main newsfeed. They did not come up because I searched you, which means the algorithm's at least picking you up to some degree.
Good, bruv. That's good. Actually, I came up on my own algorithm, so work that one out. Recommend.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
Well, I had a notification, and I thought, I got a new subscriber, and it was recommended for you, Steve Collins warm up. Fuck, that's me.
Have you clicked? I know what you've done here. You click subscribe and click the bell, so you get notified when you post your own videos.
I didn't do it. I'm not one of my own subscribers. You know, like when you like your own videos and that. I don't do that.
I don't know. I subscribed to myself. I felt bad when I put my first video up. I needed 1 subscriber.
And then if anyone wants to jump on my email list, just go onto my website and you can do it through there, or my social media. You can do it through there and see what I've got to say.
Sweet. I am literally going to finish this episode and I'm going to double check. I'm going to double check that I'm also subscribed to it. For anyone who wants to follow my stuff at Kingsley Dutton, still got some places left for the Coaching Confidence Intake at January. Drop me a DM if you want to. And also Simon Kingsley Dutton on YouTube to watch this interview. If you're listening to it audio only, go on, watch our faces and talk about how Steve's got a much better beard than me in the comments. But that's it for us, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steve, as always. And I'll speak to you next week.
As always, thank you.